Congratulations, gentlemen. My God, what an amazing, amazing film and great performances. And let's start with how Watchmen aware were you two before you got into this whole thing?
I was not at all aware of it. My younger brother was a fan of graphic novels, so I seem to recall that rather startling image from maybe a book that he had before, but it was I was not a comic book fanatic at all.
No, nothing at all. No.
So what compelled you, especially, like he's saying that his brother, at least, he had to do it for the good of his brother, of course,
Exactly.
because otherwise, no family relations anymore. It's like you come off Brightheads Revisited, and now you're like this crazy superhero guy.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a bit of a stretch, wasn't it? I mean, I read this when I finally read the graphic novel. I felt kind of very humbled, I think is a word we've used before about it, because I think I had thought that it was just a world for children and a world for geeks, and then I read it and I was like, my God, it's so intelligent and pertinent and wonderful, and where do I sign, really? Particularly after Zack's 300, where you thought, well, if it's going to be someone who can pull this off, it will be him.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, why do you think Zack Snyder was the perfect guy to direct a film like this?
Because he's a huge fan of the material.
I think you summed it up perfectly there. I mean, after meeting and working with Zack, I would say he's just about right to direct anything. I think he's really sort of, smart, talented, and very affable.
Yeah, and the passion, I'm sure, must have come through every day on set.
Yeah, but seeming without any kind of pressure. He wasn't, he kind of...
We think of him as a sort of human shock absorber, really, because, I mean, if you think about the pressures that come with making the unfilmable graphic novel into a film, and having a bunch of weirdo actors around, asking bunches of questions because we don't really understand what the hell's going on, and he sort of just takes it all in his stride, and the moment he has a free moment, he's off playing with his kids, so he's like a Duracell bunny.
Yeah, these characters, I mean, they're far from one-dimensional. I mean, there's just so much going on here. But Billy, let's start with you, because you, of course, had to go through all that motion capture and everything. How did you even wrap your head around that, and then trying to get into the psyche of this Dr. Manhattan?
Oh, I didn't. I'm not a smart man. I couldn't have done that. I just tried to make my faces and do my gestures and leave it to the guys down at the digital thing of putting it together.
Were you completely freaked out when you actually saw the finished product?
Yeah, it's pretty astounding what they can do now, because it's, for all practical purposes, a complete replica of my face, and it's not exactly my body. It's close. It's close. It's maybe a couple sizes.
Yeah. Certain
the shoulder.
Certain elements you want to talk about?
The shoulders. And there was actually quite a bit to think about, and that was one of the reasons that I was so interested and excited to get a chance to do it, is because Dr. Manhattan is sort of inscrutable, and that was fun to try and figure out.
Yeah, and do you feel that he's human at all? Did he at the end of the day?
Yeah, he has that trace of him that he just can't get rid of at the end. When Laurie comes back to try and get him to help with everything, and he still cares somewhere in there. So I guess there is an ounce of it left in him somewhere.
And Matthew, I mean, this guy, whoa, smartest man in the world. He compares himself to Alexander the Great, and that's a lot of pressure on your shoulders there.
What, me as an actor?
Well, just in general, playing a guy like this, wow, a head case, I'd say.
They're all slightly head casey, and I think that was what Alan Moore was trying to say, is people dressing up in costumes and going out and fighting in the middle of the night are more likely to be sociopathic than the burglars and whatnots they're trying to put into jail. But yeah, I mean, I still think of him as, there's a lot of stuff that he's trying to do in it that's good. I mean, he is effectively trying to save the world, and he's trying to come up with renewable sources of energy, and we are stuck in a kind of alternate 80s reality where there's, the Russians and the Americans are just about to create a nuclear holocaust. So there's good in him.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because he had to play.
Because I played him, and because I know what does happen in it. It seems horrific, but it's a ratio mathematical call, really, isn't it?
What's it like for you two to be in a film of this grand scale? I mean, you guys have been in so many amazing films, but this is just like, the fan base is incredible. I mean, you just go on the internet and there's millions and millions of pages and interviews and things going on. What kind of pressure does that put on an actor, to like, you want to make them happy?
Quite a lot.
It's like any other Billy Crudup vehicle. You have to sit back and let it wash over you.
Yeah,
Let the people take control.
And boy, do I love a Billy crudup vehicle.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
That's a
I think it's
car I
called a
like
Prius.
to drive.
What was actually the most challenging in terms of like getting used to those sets? I mean, the sets were incredible. Like being in that environment must have just so helped out.
Yeah.
But it was also intimidating because you saw the kind of, you know, the level and the quality of work that the people around you were doing. So the expectations for you of, you know, matching that and creating a character that could live in that environment, I thought they were pretty high. That was kind of daunting.
It was a constant battle against one's own fear.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy to screw up the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a lot. It's also, but I mean, that's one of the great things about it was the fact I think people will imagine that there were huge amounts of green screen with the making of the film. But what was really nice for us is that with all the whole mise en scène, everything was very tangible because it was there. It wasn't actually, you know,
Yeah.
having to imagine it, which is fantastic.